Hi, Sharon. So nice to have you.
Hi, Krishna. Always fun to talk to you. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I think we had one Zoom conversation before, but I must say, we've had amazing conversations now for over 20 years. Like, can you believe it?
That's amazing, but it's true. I know. I always like the conversations, and I never know exactly where they'll go, which is fun.
But I thought it's a high time we recorded one of these to share it with our friends, if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome, awesome. So, I'd have loved to have a fireside chat with you. But since it's middle of the day and we are apart, I thought we'll call it a Zoomside chat,
I like that.
right?
Let's have a Zoom side chat. Yeah, I
That's
think I'm
our
going to picture being in the fireside, though. I kind of like that. Yeah.
perfect, perfect. And I was always curious after you paired up with Nancy and started Two Wise Women. And I have to say, having known you for 20 years, I could not agree more about you being a wise woman. But people tend to use the word smart. Oh, he's so smart, she's so smart, but rarely use the word she's so wise or she's so, or he's so wise. So, from your perspective, how do you see the difference from being smart versus being wise?
First of all, let me tell you how we got that name, because I think that'll shed a little bit of light on it. So
Mhm.
Nancy and I had been working together already 10 years. We knew each other very well, and we decided to pair up and be a company. And so we were trying to come up with a name. And we had lots and lots of names. And I was talking to my daughter one night and I said, which of these names do you like? And there was a big pause. And she said, Mom, they're all terrible.
That's what
She's
kids tell you, right? Kids tell you the truth.
She says, why don't you just call yourselves Two Wise Women, which is what you are?
Wow.
Well, it was a little bit hard at first because it wouldn't be a name I would think of to call myself. But here's when Nancy and I thought of it, it seemed like it communicated more of who we are than any of the other names. And I think of wise pointing to the fact that we've lived a long time. We've had a whole lot of experiences, like, I mean, there are things that, like Nancy has worked with a Native American medicine man for 4 years, and she's very smart in the ways of natural medicine. I've been a healthcare executive. I'm a systems thinker. They're very different ways, and we're both mothers and grandmothers. So I think the difference in my mind between smart and wise is that smart, I hope we're smart too, but smart seems like it's kind of a mental thing. It encompasses an intellectual ability.
Mm.
And I think of wise as being more whole person,
Mm.
that it takes into account a lot of learning, a lot of experiences, and the integration of that into something that's useful, with humility, by the way. So I think that actually is kind of communicated in the word wise.
Right, but see, we don't hear that word you being used often, right?
Yeah, funny, huh?
But you hear a lot more of so and so is so smart.
Uh-huh.
Whenever
Yeah.
someone wants to give another person a compliment, it's usually smart,
Yeah.
especially the younger person. Hey, by the way, Sharon, people may not think you've lived a long life because you look all of 45.
Yeah.
So, do you mind telling how many years?
Oh, I'm getting in less than 2 weeks, I'm going to be 77.
There you go.
So,
That's
yeah.
not that's a good 45.
Yeah, it's a good 45. And I feel really lucky to be 77 and healthy and sort of vital. So it's fun to have lived that long and still feel good.
Well, I was impressed when you called the other day, the other Zoom chat we had, when you asked for feedback and so on. And I'm going like, why are you reinventing at 77? And you had an amazing answer, Would you mind repeating that?
I have no idea what it was. What did I tell you?
If I recall correctly, you said, why can't I? I'm
Oh,
always doing that, you know?
yeah,
It's almost
yeah.
like there's no end. And recently I heard from a friend who started, she after retirement, she started this group called Third Activists.
Uh-huh.
She said, we are tired of AARP. We reject the term retirement
Yeah.
and we want to do something more. We want to not become invisible. I thought
Yes.
that choice of word was pretty
I
powerful.
like that. That's really good. And part of my answer would be that part of what keeps me going is continually learning, which
Mm,
I love,
mm.
and then being able to be helpful to other people. That is very sustaining to me. So that ability to contribute. So
If I can probably think, I think that's what brought us together and keeps us together.
that's probably true. Yeah,
Right.
because you've been actually those two things. You've been on that path for as long as I've known you, always learning and then sharing, writing your book, coming to a clearer understanding of things, and then contributing. Yeah, in many ways we've been on similar paths.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So coming back to why is this higher emphasis on smarts and not as much on wise, in your opinion?
You know, it's possible that wise is something that you earn by living a long time.
Hmm.
Um, because many people have said to me, "Oh, that's the perfect name for you two," but it's said with a kind of respect
Hmm.
that you give to elders who are young at heart, who are not really old and in a decrepit kind of way.
I'm glad
So,
you're choosing those words and not me.
but you know what I mean, right? It's like, but that's funny you ask that because partly because I've lived this long and I have worked in organizations where, for instance, I was the only woman on an executive board, and smart would not have been the word that people would have called me because I was a woman, among other things,
Wow.
and that's a lot of that's changed. I think it's really neat to have lived long enough to watch that kind of change and to have earned more of a voice at the table. um, but I don't know, what do you think about that, the difference between smart and wise? Do you think it might be age related?
Now that you put those words in my mouth or in my mind, I think it's more you need experience, and experience comes with time.
Okay.
So, and you use that phrase as well. So I've had several experiences because I've
Yeah.
lived a long time. So I think it's more of a correlation. But when I mention it sometimes ad lib it in my workshops, I use the following distinction. I say, being smart is about learning from your own mistakes. Being wise is about learning from other people's mistakes.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Well, that's a good distinction. I like that.
And I
Yeah.
say, I don't want to define dumb, but if I have to, it'll be you can't even learn from your own mistakes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I proudly say, I've been smart too long. I'm trying to be wise now.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good distinction. I rather like that. Although I think wise really does also include learning from your own mistakes, and being pretty honest and transparent about it even, you
It is
know?
about acknowledging it, right?
Yeah, really acknowledging it. Yeah.
And you said something before we started this conversation. I said, hey, Sharon, we're just going to hit record. If we make a mistake, it's okay. And your response to that, if you recall, do you?
I I don't recall, but it would be probably that's fine with me.
And we are human, we will make mistakes. And
Yeah,
I keep saying
that's
this
right.
every day to myself as an affirmation, which is I'm human, I will make
Yeah.
mistakes. There is no need to be ashamed of it
Yeah.
because,
Well, not only that, I mean, you hit on something that I actually run into a fair amount in my coaching, which is people who, for whatever reasons, have such high standards for themselves that making a mistake feels like you lose everything.
Yes.
And part of my coaching, I honestly think, is helping them know, no, making mistakes and learning from it and improving is actually a wonderful thing. It makes you much stronger.
Yes.
And it also carries the possibility that you will be compassionate with other people who
Exactly.
also make mistakes.
Yeah.
And in a leader, and mostly I work with leaders, that's really important, that you don't demand perfection.
That's right.
It's also important with children. You know, if you demand perfection from your own children, it's like they're always scared. They can't be human. They're supposed to be perfect all the time, you know?
Well, you know me long enough, so confession time. Nayan,
Yeah.
you remember Nayan? Nayan said
Yeah.
recently, he was telling Sangeeta and Lekha, I think Papa wanted us to be adults when we were 5.
I'm sure that was true.
And now that you say it, I actually had some regret, in the sense that
Yeah.
I think in the guise of wanting them to do the right thing, you kind of almost tune them to perfection, or
Yes.
wanting perfection,
Well,
and then much later trying to wind it back and says it's okay, you're human, you don't have to be perfect, but all your
right.
behavior for the past 15 years or so has been conditioning them towards perfection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and I would even go further. And I know this is being recorded, but you know, part of what happens when, as parents, we want our kids to be perfect, we do want the best for them, but we also want to look good as parents.
Mhm.
You know, we want to prove that we know how to do this and that we're doing it right. And somehow that doesn't acknowledge that in order to grow well, I think kids need their struggles.
Mhm. Oh,
You know?
I think when it comes to that, I'm not guilty of that, Sharon, because
Okay.
people had written me off a long time ago. So that was not that was non-issue. I didn't have to prove. In fact, you know long enough
Okay.
that because I didn't know how, I didn't really, nobody's really taught how to be a parent, right? There's
Yeah,
no
right.
instruction manual, and I don't think you could
Right.
possibly write an instruction manual because every child is different. But
Right. Right.
the fact that you don't know made it very nervous for me, that I felt I needed to learn a few skills before I could afford to be a parent, not from a financial
Yes.
standpoint, but from a responsibilities point of view. And
Right.
therefore, I watched a lot of my friends, relatives, and all of them raise kids. And unfortunately, I think I learned what not to do.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah.
Let's, so having a long list of what not to do doesn't really teach you what to do.
What to do. You're so right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. So,
I still distinctly remember uh, a child telling me, I need to be a CEO of a company. And I think he was 11 years old. So,
this is Nyan.
no, then this is no
Oh,
names
different
here.
kid.
Yeah, different kid,
All
not
right.
mine, not mine.
Okay.
So,
All right.
11-year-old says, I need to be a CEO of a company. And I go, why? He said, because vice presidents cannot afford basketball hoops.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's so good. Is that wonderful?
And I go like, where did you learn that? He said, my dad
Where
is the
did that
vice president.
come? And he
Right?
couldn't afford a basketball hoop.
Because when
Oh
he
my
probably
goodness.
asked his dad for a basketball hoop, he said we couldn't afford it. So the child connected the two. Vice
Puts it
presidents
together.
can
I got
afford
it.
basketball.
Wow.
So
Wow.
ever since then, I have, and by then, at that time, we didn't even have children, but I wrote it down. I mean, never,
Oh,
ever
Krishna.
tell a child you can't afford it.
Yeah,
So
they'll put lots of things together, huh?
exactly.
Isn't that
And
funny?
so with my kids, with Nayan and Lekha, I use the phrase, it doesn't make sense.
Okay. Oh,
Or,
that was very good.
right, as opposed to some excuse like we can't afford it, or that is too expensive or any of that. That doesn't make sense, which that gives room to have a conversation. Why doesn't it make sense? Right? And sometimes I will, and this actually happened about a sneaker, and the sneaker was like $95 or something like that. And I told him that those things cost like $2. So why would you want to pay 95 for it? And he says, what do you mean? I said, wait 2 months and see where it falls. Same sneaker. And boy, did he look it up every day to see what happened. And sure enough, around 48th day or so, it dropped significantly.
Oh, how interesting.
And I said, the very fact that he waited so patiently, I just said, you can have it. And he said, oh, it's also $10 for shipping. I said, I'm happy to pay shipping because you waited.
Oh, that's a perfect lesson.
Yeah.
That's a really.
Ever since, we haven't had that conversation, I mean, that situation again, because he knows the same thing, when there's a hype about it, it's almost 150% to 200% more than what it would be.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing.
What a good lesson. What a really good lesson. You know, sort of along the same, but slightly different. I had an experience with my own parents, who were wonderful, by the way. I was in high school, like barely, like maybe 10th grade. And a friend of mine was hit by a car on the corner right near the school. And there needed to be a light there. There should always have been a light there, but there was not one. And so I was at dinner with my parents and I said, I can't stand it. I have to do something, because my friend whom I adored was actually hurt rather badly, you know? So my parents said to me, I thought they were so smart. They said, what do you think of? And I said, I don't know what to think of. I have no idea what to think of. But people told me I have to go to City Hall. Did you ever hear of people going to City Hall? And they said, no, but if you have to go to City Hall, maybe you should go. And I did. And I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I was passionate and I wanted to make a change. And long story short, it did get made, and the light got put in. And I didn't care about credit or anything. I just wanted protection. And I did have my parents' backing. They just said, do what you need to do. And I'm always grateful for that they thought I could do it, you know, and encouraged me. So yeah, it's funny how our conversation takes us back to parents and children, doesn't it?
But interestingly, you use the word smart while describing your parents. Were they smart or they wise?
They were very wise, actually, but they were also smart.
Yeah. I mean, it's not either or. I think smart is almost like a prerequisite condition.
Yes.
But not sufficient.
Well, the other thing we had 4 kids in our family, and they were very wise about how different we were. So they encouraged us differently. And I think if you talk to all 4 of us, we have talked about that and shared that. And that was very wise. That meant that they paid attention to really who we were and gave us what we needed. So I'm lucky.
Interesting. You just used another word. They paid attention.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer that attention is another one of those foundational skills. Paying close attention. And these days, with the number of things dinging at us and distracting us, the level of attention that we pay and add multitasking as a skill, which, by the way, I think is an oxymoron. I don't know if you've ever heard my definition of multitasking.
No, tell it to me. I want to hear it.
It's the opportunity for you to screw up more than one thing at the same time.
Isn't that the truth? That's a beautiful definition, Krishna.
So that's what happens.
I've done that. Yeah.
And when I get a resume these days that says I'm a very good multitasker, I mean, not these days I don't look at resumes, but when I did, that would go instantly into
in the pile.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you cannot, and they're kidding themselves. And there was this artificial expectation that you need to be a good multitasker.
Right.
And when you really can't, you're really dividing your attention among many tasks. And I believe in order to make good choices and make good decisions, it starts with paying close attention.
Really good attention.
Yeah.
That's such a good, I love the way you describe that, because I know that and I believe it. And most of the time I live it until I don't. And then I always mess up. You know, I'll try to finish an email while I'm talking to somebody on the phone, and the email will have some big mistake in it, right?
Well, that's the first time. I thought you were perfect, Sharon.
Very far from perfect. Very human. I'm very human. Yeah.
I guess I have to disclose our own relationship. I've always treated you as somebody who provided me with good advice and guidance. So now that you say you multitask, I feel like, okay, I can
Uh-oh,
get a break.
you're going to write me off, right?
No, no.
But, you know, I'll tell you something about you, and I don't know how revealing we are supposed to be on this, but I'm going to just say this. When I first knew you and then got to know you a little better, sometimes in order to get your full attention, I had to go kind of like this, because you were so smart. I'm going to use that word very knowingly. And you were turned on by ideas, and I liked it. But sometimes you just went on and on and on with that. And if we were really going to talk about how did that apply to you, what difference did it make, I had to get your attention, which took a little doing, you know?
Oh, took a lot of doing. I think you're being kind.
Well, but it always worked, I think.
Yes.
It also worked that I cared a lot about you. So it wasn't like I was judging you or anything. I just wanted to connect. And I needed to slow you down a little bit to connect.
Yeah. And I
Mm-hmm.
think you just used another very powerful word. Powerful phrase. I did not judge you.
Mm-hmm.
That actually keeps the channel open. The
Yeah.
moment there is judgment, then there is defense,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you've been critical of some of the things I've done or given me specific advice, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I don't think it ever came across as a judgment.
Well, I'm going to even go further than that. And I don't know if this is fair, but I actually just love you. And so I just kept loving you. And I think that as long as I was coming from that place, you could feel it. Do you know what I mean? So in that sense, it's the same. It's not the same, but it's kind of similar to when we tell our kids something.
Hmm.
And it may be telling them something we really want them to see or to hear, but we love them. It doesn't change how we feel about them. We just really want to say that. And that's really how those times where I came off kind of strong to you, and I know that I did, that's where I was coming from. And I think you could feel it.
As I said, this is you just dropped that one on me, so I've got to process it a little bit. But I don't think it was ever. I didn't feel judged. I still will go back to
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it
Yeah.
was like, and there was such a, and I still remember one of them, which I think last year or so I reminded of you. I think the most powerful sentence I've heard from you about me was, Krishna, you have so much power, use it with grace.
Hmm.
That took me years to unpack. It was not even, but I knew it was, and you said it in front of my wife,
Yeah.
right? And so, and it felt like it was like a sharp knife without
Yeah.
an edge.
Oh, interesting. I remember that actually.
Yeah.
I remember right where we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bahama breeze in Robinson
That's
Country.
exactly. I remember what I was eating. Is that funny? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
distinctly because nobody could have probably said something like that. So crisp,
Mm.
with so much content in it, that took, as I said, a lot of work to unpack. What does
Yeah.
that even mean? I mean, and
Yeah.
then because you never explained it that day. I mean, we were talking about it and boom, that was
Hmm.
the punchline. And then I think we ended our conversation and moved on. But as I said, it stuck with me. I would say that was easily 15 years ago.
It probably was. So what did you make of it eventually?
It's really about back to things like judgment, things like force, things like patience. there's so many things convex too. And because grace is about being graceful and not pushy. So yeah, don't push was one of the things. You know, let it happen. Be patient. There's so many things that you could learn as behaviors. When you have a lot of power, we've heard, obviously you have a lot of responsibility, but that's not what you said. You said use it with grace. That means it's about, and today, the way one of the things I really share with others is it's about regulation, right?
Yes,
How to
yes.
dial it in. Too much,
Yes,
you get a flood.
yes.
Or a flood would be, in this case, an overwhelm, or even
Right.
pull back. So it's really about regulating that, how much ever you can do.
Yes.
And which goes back to what you said. Once I got excited about ideas, it's like go, 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 till whoa, whoa, whoa. I need to process. Sometimes do people hear at different speeds? People process at different speeds.
Yes.
If you do want to connect and communicate, you got to match the flow.
And as you're talking, I'm so glad that stayed with you, because part of what I was also saying to you, and I would say it to you still, is when you have as much power as you have, you want to have it as much impact as you can. And if you don't regulate, I like that you chose that word, you might not have as much impact as you're capable of. I mean, so I was recognizing a pretty huge capacity in you that I wanted to find its mark.
Oh, wow. There you go. That's proof of love, Sharon. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it so well. I think golf is a good metaphor too, because the further you want to hit the ball, the shorter it goes.
Wait, tell me more about that. I don't quite get that.
If you want to really swing the ball, really swing at it really hard because you want it to go a long way.
Oh, okay.
You mishit it and it actually goes a lot.
Oh, I love that. That's a great metaphor. Okay.
And a lot of people play golf and so on. And another thing, even in golf, if you want to score well, you end up scoring worse.
Isn't that funny?
Because the mind gets...
And do you still need to regulate in that same way? You need to...
I think letting go. There it's about letting
go. Okay. Not trying to control the outcome, essentially.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's about letting go. And once you let go and say, I'm going to only play for fun, actually you play a lot better.
Okay.
It's almost counterintuitive. I mean, it is counterintuitive. Yeah. And that's why most things in life are counterintuitive as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I'm going to make a funny leap here. One of the things I've found with parents who are very obsessed with helping their kids be perfect, kind of, is that if they can let go and enjoy the kids, literally have fun with them and enjoy them, it's like the kids flourish. Is that funny? It's the same as the golf metaphor.
Exactly.
It's like you're not trying to control the outcome so much.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So back to smart versus wise. I think even I think our choices about smart is probably trying to learn everything what to do and try to control it. Because that's, as you started this conversation, you said it feels more intellectual, which means having a checklist of to-dos, maybe how to be smart.
Maybe,
wise comes more with notion of maybe letting go.
I like it.
Easing off and actually seeing the fruits that you want to see happen and enabling it to happen and giving it the possibility rather than controlling it.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, we got to a nice place. That's powerful.
Awesome. I didn't even keep track of time. But I thought maybe since we wanted to have a half-hour chat or something, looks like we did that. But I can't let you go, given that I'm obsessed with choices and how you make choices, having read your second book. Is it the second or the third one?
It was my third, actually. Yeah.
Sorry. I wanted to know the backstory.
Go ahead. No, I don't want to do anything with it. I just put it on mute. Yeah.
Got it. So given the third book's title, I wanted to know the backstory behind how you came up with chocolate versus lunch. Because again, just like everybody talks, chooses smart and not wise, most people say chocolate or vanilla, and you said chocolate or lunch. What's the kind of backstory there?
Well, the secondary title, it's Chocolate or Lunch, How Choices Impact Relationships.
Mm,
Okay. And the backstory really is that in relationships, as in all of life, we're actually making choices every minute. In the same way that we decide, okay, I'm hungry. Shall I have chocolate or shall I go have lunch? You know, it's like it's kind of a bizarre choice, but we did it on purpose. And it's funny because a lot of people hear that title and they say, "Oh, I want both, chocolate and lunch. How about chocolate and lunch?" But you know, the choice business is like, if you, it's almost shocking how many choices we make about relationship inside of a relationship, how we're going to talk to somebody we work with, what we're going to say, how we're going to talk to them about something difficult, how we're going to give feedback, how our face is going to look, how our voice is going to sound. And it's like we're not aware of these choices, but we're making them all the time, all the time. And in that book, and in my work with Nancy, the other wise woman, we work a lot with getting people to become more conscious of the many choices that they can make. Because a lot of people feel like in relationships, they're kind of just, they're on the receiving end. What they get is what they get. And part of our point is that you have a lot of choice and you put out invitations that you don't know you put out. Sometimes they're invitations to be, for other people to be defensive, you
mm,
know?
I love
Um,
the choice of phrases. You put out invitations for others to be defensive.
yeah, you
Wow.
don't know you are.
Right. Hey, I just want to say, I didn't realize that that would be the connection. I did not rehearse that question at
Yeah.
all. But I want to talk to you the next
Okay.
Zoomside chat
Okay.
about relationships.
Wonderful. I would love it. That's my
Okay.
favorite topic. Yeah.
So why don't we say we'll save that topic, because otherwise we'll start a
No,
whole.
let's just save it. This has been so much fun, Krishna. I love talking with you.
Well, I did not have a clue where would this would go, but as I said, we do have some fancy, amazing conversations that I wish I'd recorded over the last many years, 20 years,
Yeah.
including the ones with Hal.
Yeah.
And so now let's cherish and curate the conversations going forward so that our friends, my kids, and so
I
many
love
other
it.
people would get a chance to hear it if they choose to.
Cherish and curate. I love that choice of those words, Krishna. That's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks for being my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, Sharon.
Bye-bye.
This is Krishna Pendyala wishing you all well and reminding you to always be open to new perspectives. Take care.